all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD.
And we are recording. Here we grow. Welcome, fellow Leo and founder of the Positive Head podcast, founder of Mystic Manor, and author of the new smash hit book, The Golden Key, Brandon Beecham. Welcome to the program. How's it going, my friend?
It is going smashing. Since you use smash hit, I'm going to go with smashing.
Have you referred to your book as a smash hit yet?
That's the first smash hit reference, but I hope it won't be the last.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's good to collect as many, what's the word for it? Positive adjectives, descriptions, phrases, something. I need a vocabulary.
You're fairly proficient at that from what I can tell.
Oh, really? I'm not even awake yet. I'm still asleep. I don't actually get up till 1 p.m. So this is a red eye podcast for me. I normally say no, but then it's Brandon Beecham. So I'm like, I'll get up at 6 a.m. for this guy, or I'll push it back a few hours and eventually we'll get it. But did you have another book before Golden Key, or was that renamed? What happened to the book you were going to call The Fountain of Youth?
Oh man, you do know what's going on. That was, that's still on the shelf, 90% written. And I started it before launching Positive Head. And then I realized, hold on, I don't really have any kind of audience to put this out to. Why don't I start a podcast first? And I put it on the shelf and then never really got back to it. And then I got thinking about it. It's like, I love the content and the subject matter, but is it the first thing I want to release? It's like The Fountain of You, how science and spirituality are merging to birth us into the age of timelessness. And I love it. And I want to get back to it. So I think, one day I'm going to, do a revamp and, actually finish it, update it. And so it started as the first book that never came out, which will probably be the second or third, or who knows, whatever ends up happening there. But yeah, so The Golden Key is my official first release, and it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, don't go looking for that Fountain of You, gang. Just look for The Golden Key. You can download it for free, or you can pay money for it, or you can gift it to people. You've got a whole like Willy Wonka sort of system.
I'm Willy Wonka-ish.
Yeah, where you can give it to people. So, I mean, of course, I want to ask you lots of questions about the book, but the main question is, if no one has time to read the book, which they all do, everyone should read the book and absorb it completely. Throw out all your other books, read this one. But what's the biggest takeaway after all of the Abraham Hicks, all of the retreats, all of the meditation, all of the podcasting, all the mystic manoring? What's the most significant piece of knowledge that you've obtained?
You're just going right in the deep into the pool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll also, just to add to that, goldenkey.gift is where you can get the audio or ebook. And then hopefully you created a code and then
link in the description. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. So the idea with the Golden Key is, as you know, I've been like a podcasting maniac for, since 2015, 1,400 episodes now, with a little help from my co-host, Erica, in the last couple of years. But so a lot of exploring, 25 years of deep exploration of the ultimate nature of reality. And so what I wanted to do with the Golden Key is, how do I distill that into, and for me to be short with anything is challenging. Luckily, my partner who helped edit is like super concise, and she calls me the king of embedded clauses, like a story within a story within a story within, and that's great when you're talking, but then when you writing, it's a whole different thing. So she helped me to really distill it down. It's 100 pages or so, 3 hours to listen to. And, it's what I love about it is it's like, if you could listen to 1,400 episodes, or here's the Cliff Notes in 3 hours with the audiobook.
Ooh.
And so, and you asked a great question. What is the biggest takeaway? Well, that's what the golden key is. It's like there's 7 keys and then the 8th key, which ties them all together. And so we'll start.
Is there a reason you chose 8? Or did you not choose it? It came to you.
It came to me, and there was a lot of synchronicity with the book. The book itself came to me in a dream. I was then, I could share that story too. Speaking of embedded clauses, if you want to, but there's some really cool magic with how the dream came, and then even the cover art, how that came to someone else in a dream, pre me asking them to make it, and
So are you always surrounded by synchronicities, or do you find yourself like in months where you're like, none of this magic is working? Like, what am I? I'm a fraud.
That's that's a great question. So I always think of my friend who helped to create Optimistic, creative director. He always, when he used to see me after a long time, first thing it'd be like, Mr. Synchronicity. So, I have so many people on the show who, and I'm sure you can relate to this, people who are like, I commune with the extraterrestrial beings and spend most of my time in the 5th dimension. And,
I always tell people that, most of my guests belong in a psych ward.
Yeah,
I'll even tell my guests that. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So a lot of that surrounds us, and I'm not having those experiences. I'm very open to having them, and believe most of the people that I run into who say they're having those sorts of experiences. For me, it's been like, the thing that happens the most is signs and synchronicities on like steroids. So sometimes they are, more ramped up than others, I guess you would say, but there always seem to be like there's small ones almost pretty much daily for me, little threads of connectivity. So it's, I think a lot of it is pattern recognition. It's like Robert Grant is like, what did he just say? He has such a great quote about this. I'm going to look it up really fast because I
need a producer. I need a Jamie Vernon or a Ben Avery to pull up stuff when we reference it.
One day. Here's what Robert Grant says. Randomness is simply mankind's inability to perceive God's encryption.
I like that. It reminds me of a different wording of that is randomness is just our own inability to detect a pattern.
Right. Okay. I haven't heard that one. So it's I think just like working out any muscle, over time, I'm like this excited, like schoolboy about any synchronicity. So all that excitement, as the Bible says, lest you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. And so I have that sort of inherent in my makeup, I feel like, just like that excited little boy part of myself. And so synchronicity, oh, wow, look, I'm going to share with everyone who will listen, I'll share on the podcast, and then it just creates a vibration of more of it, I think. And then you get really good at starting to connect the dots and see the pattern, see the encryption. And so a lot of times I think it's just threads of connectivity. It's not even necessarily always some deep, profound meaning. Sometimes it certainly is, I think. But other times it's like, oh, this is my own YOU universe reflecting me back to me. And that's actually, you said, to get back many embedded clauses later to your first question, master the YOU universe is the 8th key, the golden key. And it's once you come to the realization that you are the only one in the room. Like Nassim Haramein, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he posted something not too long ago.
Of course, yeah. I used to talk about holographic field theory nonstop. Okay, holographic unified field theory.
He's amazing. I had him on Positive Head a few years ago, and he posted something not so long ago where it was like it was a 3D graph, sort of torus spinning infinitely in all directions, and it had little nodes, equidistance apart, imagine it stretching into eternity in both directions. And he said, think of it when you look at this and think of this thing being infinite in scope. However, if you go to any one of these nodes, it's the center of the whole thing. Ooh. And so that's you. That's me. Yes, we're part of this infinite web of, life. We the source consciousness, we're one with the source consciousness that animates all things. And in this moment, I'm a node of that source consciousness experiencing everything through the avatar of Brandon Beecham. And so, I'm literally in my own private youniverse, and everything's a prop reflecting me back to me. And that's how I navigate my reality and the lens through which I view, my experience. And it's just, it just gets weird in the best kind of way. The more you kind of drop into that.
Yeah, it goes on forever. And my listeners used to make fun of me for constantly bringing up Indra's net and the infinite fractal.
I've heard that. And remind me what that is.
You know what? It's been a minute since I've brought it up, and this will be a nice throwback to the older episodes where I would not stop talking about it. But the story goes, the Hindu god Indra had a net that goes, like, it spans infinitely in all directions. And on each node of the cross section of the net, a jewel is placed in each node, and it's polished so finely that within every jewel you see a reflection of all the other jewels. So when you look at any jewel, you see every other jewel, and it goes on infinitely. So all of the information in one node is contained, or all of the information of the whole universe is contained in each node. And I think that's how not crypto specifically, but the torrents and stuff like that, I think decentralized networks operate on that principle where every node stores everything so that you can't have a centralized little king telling you what to do.
How cool. I love that. That's really even a better way I like that version of explaining it more than my reference to Nassim's, posting. He probably was inspired by that.
He's a fun guy, though. I don't know about the crystal. I'm not sure if the Arc crystal works. I don't own one. They're very expensive, but he's a fun character. He likes surfing, and he's got that Dutch accent.
He's definitely unique.
Yeah, like he inspires me. Like, just even if for some people it doesn't work. Like, I'm sure you run into this just as often. But you say, like, we're all one. We're all infinite jewels of the one true consciousness that animates all things, and some people are just like that, we're all one. That does nothing for me. I don't know, just doesn't resonate. And even with us, it does nothing. Some weeks it's like we're all one does nothing. So it's all about finding different angles at which to approach that truth and different paths. And
it's relative truth. It's relative truth. So you and I are separate. That is true. You and I are one. That is true. What vantage point are we speaking from in any given moment? So most people's experience is through the relative truth of separation. So you talk about oneness, it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool and nifty theoretically. And how does that affect my day? It doesn't. And so then you have the people who, it's like my friend, Sisa, who's staying here at the Mystic Manor. She's Danish and well known in there, and like Child Star and everything. And so they're wanting to do a possible TV show with her here at the Mystic Manor, the property that I run, and bringing Danish people over to have a transformational experience, right? Like a retreat kind of thing. And so we were filming some content for that, as that possibility is being explored. And so I invited my friend John Amaral over, and he traveled with Tony Robbins for many years as his personal energy worker. He was Gwyneth Paltrow's Netflix documentary, The Goop thing on healing. He's one of the episodes. And so
Top brass alert.
Yeah, top brass alert. He's cool. He's such a cool, down to earth guy. And then he does this, this incredible, process. I won't go into all the details of it, but you're laying on a table and he's moving energy through your body, and doing all the motions of playing with energy, and people sometimes, are have incredibly powerful reactions to it, and other times little to nothing. So I got him to come over and shoot some content of her having, the experience. And she went it was going to be a 20-minute. We're just getting a little footage. This is for, the possibility of the show. She gets blasted wide open and it's like full on convulsing. Her body's in every shape she never thought she could do. And even here we are 2 weeks later, she's like, it's like he opened something and I'm like, I knew this idea of oneness. Yeah, cool. And then you experience it. And through some with DMT or, in this case, or meditation or whatever. And then it, I think, takes on a whole different, a whole different lens, a whole different perspective on it, because you realize oh shit, this is really what's going on.
Were they coming into it a little skeptical, or were they coming in oh, this is going to work, or kind of in between?
She's pretty open. She's really sensitive and pretty open. So, I think she's a prime candidate for it to just work like a charm.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. For me, when I had him work on me, I didn't feel much. And that's pretty par for course for me for a lot of things. Oh, let's do past life regression. No, it didn't quite have the experience I'd hoped. Oh, yeah. Everyone else is flailing like a fish and I'm,
how do you play it off in the moment? Do you try to be polite about it? You're like, hey, it didn't work. Give me another one.
No. I'm not into ever faking anything. And I'm just, I try and have as little expectation as possible. The story I tell around these sorts of, even DMT, 5-MeO DMT, I didn't have an experience like the one that you shared on Comedy Central. I had some cool experience on DMT, but when I did 5-MeO, that's the, breath of God. That's the one that people are merged with everything. I kind of blacked out. I remember bits and pieces and it was profound feeling, but do I have some epic tale of adventure to share? Not really. And so the story I tell around this kind of journey of not having as, much powerful experience with some of these things as others that's because one day when my experience really hits, it's the buildup, So yeah, that's the story.
It's in escrow or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Real estate that well. I just know that's accruing some kind of money with
vibrational escrow.
Yeah, vibrational escrow. Have you used that term before?
I have. It's an Abraham Hicks. It's an Abraham Hicks thing. Yeah, she says that a lot. She says basically.
You introduced me to Abraham Hicks. Actually, I knew about Law of Attraction. I knew the name, but I'd never listened to it. And you played it at the end of an episode. I'm like, who's this? And then
she's amazing, Esther Hicks. Yeah, I actually had Sheila Gillette on my show years ago. Who Esther Hicks, who a lot of listeners may be familiar with. She claims to channel a non-physical entity, composite entity that is referred to as Abraham. Whether she is or isn't, I can't say for sure. I just know the information that comes out of her mouth.
Impressive.
The information that comes out of her mouth is incredibly empowering. And one of my favorite teachers. And she was not into. I had Sheila Gillette on the show who channels as well, and she met Esther. I think 25, 30 years ago, whatever. Esther was not doing any of this. And she was responsible for helping to kind of open her up. And of course, she went on to be much more well-known. But Abraham, basically, that's a big.
She helped her
Yeah. I think her husband.
She helped her open up her channeling.
Yep. Esther's husband, Jerry, was really interested in that phenomenon. And so Jerry brought Esther to this event or something that Sheila Gillette was hosting around channeling and I forget the exact, she tells the whole story when I interviewed her, but it's been years ago. And, and Esther was pretty unfamiliar and just started meditating, started doing some of the exercises, and then boom, blasted open. Guess what? You're about to be this, big channel. And she's, like I said, whether it is or isn't, when I look at something like channeling, it's not happening to me per se, in a way that's distinct. I know this voice is coming in. Do I have inspired information coming through? Yeah, all the time. Right. do I create some differentiation between me and some other entity? And even that, isn't that an imaginary line in the sand? It's a relative truth of separation. So, yeah, with channeling, I always say is like, would it be any weirder than the fact that whoever's talking through your Rainbow Brainskull right now is talking to me? Like, I've gotten used to that, like, this interaction, but it's pretty bizarre that we exist and are communicating at all. Would it be any weirder that some other non-physical consciousness is using the bio bodysuit? Not really, So like you said, what's most important is what's coming through. And what I found is the people who are claiming to channel, some of the ones that I really admire, like the information is just profound, So I tend to believe something's going on there.
Have you heard the Ramdas quote about that, where he says that, I've got a friend named Emmanuel, and a lot of people judge Emmanuel because he doesn't have a body. And a lot of people say that they're tolerant. They're like, I don't care what religion you are, what skin color you are. But for some reason, when you bring up your friend that doesn't have a body, people get all weird. And he's like, I don't care where you get your teaching from. If you've got a teaching, I want it.
Interesting.
So like
no,
that.
I've never heard Ramdas talk about that. That's really cool. Fun way to put it, though.
So I was thinking about your history as this incarnation. Like, you were brought up very conservative town, very Christian parents. Did you ever have a phase where did you ever go through an atheist phase? Because it seems like, at least in my chronology of you, it's like Christian boy who's like kind of skeptical, but like is trying to do the right thing, and then crosses over into the, for lack of a better word, the woo-woo, thoughts control reality, or not thoughts control reality, but your thoughts are causative is a better word for it. Where the attention goes, energy flows.
That's right. Yeah. Great question. Oh, or are you done with the question?
That's the question.
So, I was raised in Virginia, actually, very conservative kind of Christian. I went to a Christian college that I got kicked out of, but for being
partying,
bad.
The bad boy of Christian.
Yeah, ooh, real bad. So I met someone in my early 20s who was, it's 21, 22, something like that probably, and she claimed to have psychic ability, and I was like, I hadn't really ever encountered that. And I was very intrigued by what she demonstrated. And, she demonstrated some things that gave me the idea that there was something possibly going on there. And that was all it took. I was always like, as my brain continues to fully develop, some of the things I'd been taught in my very conservative Christian upbringing, just the math wasn't adding up, and then you enter someone doing much cooler, interesting things like this girl. And so I started reading. It got me going to the metaphysical aisle of the bookstore, and this is a whole thing, like, and then I started reading, and it was just like, for me, it just had such a profound impact. I can only imagine, because it is my dharmic path to do what I'm doing, talking about this stuff incessantly. And so it just like lit me up. I'm like, oh my gosh, of course this is how it's structured. Duh, this is so obvious. How is everyone not seeing it? That's how it felt to me. And so then I would just talk to anyone who would listen. And, this is like late 90s. And people were like, okay, Brandon, what are you smoking? Or, oh, that's interesting, and go about their daily life. It wasn't so hip and trendy. And, there's these authors who I had no access to, or, but that was really all it took. I just, it was like a feeble enough of a attachment to what I had been taught. And all I needed to do was then open up what resonates much more with the ultimate truth, the ultimate nature of reality. And then it was like, oh yeah, duh. And then I started having some experiences. I remember one of the first books was, it was a lot of like astral projection, psychic phenomenon stuff. I talked to my brother about it, and he's like, dude, he's still 2 years younger than me, like really fully believing what we were raised to believe. And he's like, what are you smoking, Brandon? Like, you can't leave your body. And I'm like, telling him what the book talks about. It's like, there's 2 ways according to this book: through meditation, here's some exercises to try and induce it, or maybe easier is lucid dreaming, becoming awake in your dream, right? And he's like, okay, I don't believe you. However, that lucid dreaming thing I did when I was a kid. I used to, become awake in my dream and then take control and do all the fun things.
He said he did or you did?
Yeah, he did. So he basically was rolling his eyes at me that I'm reading a book about astral projection and out-of-body experience. I'm telling him about it anyway. And he's like, I don't believe any of that. However, that lucid dreaming thing, that is a real phenomenon. I know because it used to happen to him as a kid. Well, I said, great. If it ever happens again, tell yourself you want to leave your body when you become lucid in your dream, and it'll happen, according to this book. Fast forward to the next morning, he comes into my room looking like he's seen a ghost. He's like, oh my God, talking about this yesterday, I thought you were crazy. However, talking about it, I guess, triggered me to have a lucid dream again for the first time since I was 10 or whatever. And I remembered what you said. I said, leave my body. Next thing I know, I'm standing next to it, looking at myself lying there. I'm moving my hands in front of my face with like tracers, then a hole opens in the ceiling and I reluctantly fly out. My brother's never the first guy in line for the roller coaster. So it was a little shock, he's pretty sensitive. He's a Cancer, the most sensitive person I know. And so it was like, I'm here trying to make it happen. Now he's opened Pandora's box and it's like, dude, it's intense. It's like real as this. And to this day, it'll happen sporadically to him, but he doesn't seek it out. And so that was cool. Then there's one other. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to see if that has changed his outlook much or if he's still kind of the same.
He,
not in a bad way. We're all like,
I don't
claim to know more than him or anything.
Yeah. He is very much aware of all of the stuff that, the book entails and the podcast entails. And he's very aware, but there's also this part of him as this, he's still semi-hurt from me, calling him a name when we were 12 years old, probably. He's so sensitive. And so I think part of the hardships of
those
the world.
Cancers, man.
Yeah, dude. And so I think, and what a karmic path to have me as his older brother, like, you said you're a Leo too. So, I just.
Older and Leo. I've got the Cancer brother, but he's older.
Ah, interesting. What is your birthday?
Yeah. July 26th. 1984. Don't start any credit cards under my name, listeners.
You're my birthday fam birthday week. We're birthday fam. That's supposedly the.
What are you? 30th?
I'm the 28th. I have speaking of synchronicity, I have the crazy. Have you ever heard my birthday synchronicity on the podcast? It's wild.
No. Which episode?
Oh, I probably talked about it 10 times over the years. I wish I knew.
Okay, so it's just somewhere.
It's somewhere in there. I can share a little bit of it now if you want. It's
on this
wild.
Episode now.
Yeah,
this is the place to find it.
So my brother is July 19th, the Cancer. My mom is July 24th. Me and my dad are July 28th. And so my dad was 28. He had me on his birthday, July 28th. Our grandmother, his grandmother, my great grandmother, July 28th as well. Her mother died on July 28th. My ex-business partner and villain I refer to in my book, who called me the day it came out after 5 years of not talking and said, I was just in meditation and you came to me and something about us writing a book, and we reconvened the day I hit print on the book. And now, he's like, this, it's a great story and of redemption. And his baby mama, July 28th, his grandmother, July 28th. I met my definite soulmate in this life, whose birthday is July 25th. I met her on July 28th. Her partner before me, his name was Anson. And all my relatives with July 28th, like my dad, great-grandmother, great-great, they're from Anson, North Carolina, this little town. Her Anson committed suicide on July 28th. That's like maybe close to half the story. It's gotten so long now.
That's a powerful date right there.
It's wild. So you're in the family birthday week. My whole week, except my sister, the outlier, is in that week. And my friend who's July 30th was telling me that it's the Lion of Judah week. It's like the Christ consciousness week or something. This whole thing about the Nile would overflow at that time.
I only know about it because of the very obscure Prince song from the Planet Earth album, Lion of Judah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I wasn't aware that existed, but
the album, the song, or Prince?
Well, I did hear Prince once, I have a friend who used to get private shows from him. Like my friend Beta.
What? You mean at Paisley Park?
My friend Beta, her best friend, one of her very best friends was Prince. Prince wrote a song about, I forget her name now. He gave her own symbol. He wrote songs about her. It was like Prince's muse, was my friend Beta's
Darling
friend.
Nikki.
And I think, is that it? Yeah. I met her once and I don't remember her name, but you just made up Nikki?
Well, no, there's a song called Darling Nikki. So I was just I was throwing out like, oh, is that Nikki or something?
I could look. I could text Beat him. She might even answer us before we're done here in the name, because I met her one time years ago. But she said they would go to his house sometimes and he'd make them pancakes, and then the whole band would be there, and they'd get like the two of them, like private performance. Like,
yeah, he had the Mystic Manor thing figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, no one has
probably on a whole nother level than the Mystic Manor, I would imagine.
How large is Mystic Manor?
The house itself is like 7,000 square feet. And
Cool.
then you
How
have
big
this.
is the lot?
The lot is, I want to say it's 10 all in all.
10K?
Everything. Yeah.
Cool.
I think so. or maybe the house is like 6 and then the whole lot's 10. That might be it. And what's great here in, Venice, you can't get this much land anymore. So we kind of have like a bit of a compound. There's hedges all the way around, pool and everything. And so yurt in the backyard. So it's really fun because it's like you're stepping into another alternate dimension. There's visionary art everywhere. That my friend Vajra had, who's one of my favorite visionary artists. He had all his friends put it up, and then it's kind of like a gallery. We would used to do art walkthroughs pre-COVID, and pretty awesome. I just didn't know you were so close, so now you must come.
I would love to. Yeah, once I get the second dose and once things are a little more whatever-y, I don't know the exact time, but yeah, I'd love to go. I wanted to go back when it was just starting. Same with Cosm. I missed my chance to go to Cosm in New York. I don't know if you've ever been. I have
not. I have not, but I want to go.
Yeah.
Love to go to Cosm.
Have you talked to Alex and Allison before? Have you had them on as guests?
I haven't. I want to. My friend Vajra, speaking of, he was right before COVID. He was out at Cosm. He was like some event, and he was like, painting, live painting. And he was trying to make that connection a while back. And I can't remember what happened. I think we had some dialogue, and then, it just never panned out.
I'm going to try to make it happen, even though I haven't even had them on yet. So after I eat, then I'm going to try to get them on your show, even though I have no power.
Well, one of us will help the other. How about that?
Ooh, I like that. Yes. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Done.
So let's see. I feel like I went on a tangent there. So I asked you about your skepticism, if you had any atheist phase, because I always see atheism as a phase, never a final stopping point on the road.
Yeah, I went straight from Christianity. This is what this very conservative sort of denomination of Christianity to, meeting the psychic person, to exploring these ideas. And then I had a bunch of like powerful experiences early on. Like my brother's thing happened pretty early in that journey. Or I remember one of the books I was reading on psychic phenomenon, this guy talked about how he had this powerful experience where he was able to communicate with animals around him. And I thought, wow, that's fascinating. I forget even what exactly the details of that story was, but I remember I just finished reading this whole section where this guy had this powerful spiritual experience communicating with, animals. And so I was like, wow, I want to try that. And so I'm in my room, and it's a really big room. At the time I lived in Nashville in a 6-bedroom house and 6 guys, and I had the master. So it was a very large room. And in the
that was the Kundalini days.
Yes, that was where.
Yeah, I got to throw in knowledge in between your stories to demonstrate that I know your son Bradley. I know he was born as an old man that would say like, "Hello, my name is Bradley. Nice to meet you."
You sure?
He's like, "You're 2 years old. How are you talking like this?"
You totally got it. You totally do know all the things. I love it. So. I'm in this bedroom in Nashville. I just read about animal communication. I'm lit up about what a cool story. I see a moth in the corner of my room, probably 12 feet away. And, it's pretty far away. Like actually the room I'm in now, about the same size. And there's a moth like flitting around in the top corner. I hold my hands out and like think, okay, come land in my hands. It instantly flew from across the room and landed in the center of my palms.
Direct flight?
Wow. Direct flight. I've tried 100 times since, Universe is like, look, we already gave you your little nugget of like, here's your breadcrumb. Don't be greedy. And so it's never worked since, but that first time. So little things like that. And then my brother going from making...
That happened.
Sorry, go ahead.
Wait, sorry, your brother going for what?
I was like, things like that. That was very early on. Then my brother going from making fun of me to, looking like he'd seen a ghost, having an out-of-body experience. Like all these things happened really quickly. So I was just like, it was like confirmation to the ideas that I was exploring that were, rocking my world. So.
Yeah. I heard, I don't know if you've heard this quote before. How many times have I brought up quotes? But quotes are good. I heard a quote that said, if you like, because I have this instinct of, you learn something new, you learn about holofractal unified field theory, you learn about simulation theory, you learn about Esther Hicks, you learn about Ramdas, whatever, and you just want to tell everyone. And then you have to ask yourself, would this still be interesting to me if I couldn't tell anyone about it? So I try to ask myself that sometimes. Is this still interesting if I didn't get to evangelize it? Because it's a fine line between becoming a evangelical person and trying to share what might unlock the same thing in others.
That's a great point. I was just talking about this the other day with my father. I have his birthday, and we're so different. I mean, I got to give it to the guy. He's like so committed to his super close-minded spiritual belief system. He still
goes door to door, right? Like
yes, I love everything. COVID I think kind of shut that down, but yeah, he's like virtual 75. Door. Yeah. Oh, wow. So no, now I told him about Clubhouse, so he's trying to get me to show him how to get on a Clubhouse so he can evangelize Clubhouse, and it's just it's funny because obviously I can see it in him, so I know it's in me. This like wiring to evangelize, and I've never really thought about that. Would it be as interesting? I don't know. I think, exposure breeds indifference over time. And so, it's like, I'll use Burning Man as an example. Have you been to Burning Man?
I want to, but no, I still have not. I've heard the stories.
So Burning Man, great example. You go to first night I went to Burning Man 2005, and it was, it's the only night in my life where I feel like I tripped. I took psychedelics, but I didn't take anything. I think it was strictly the energy and what that place represented and how much it resonated with me. The next day I was like, day 2, I was like, what happened to me last night? Like I was full on psychedelic trip, and I smoked a little bit of weed, I think, but that was it. And so, so that experience was so powerful. Then, now fast forward, I've been 7 times, it becomes like old hat a little bit. Now, if I got to take you for the first time and show you, oh, this is where this happens. This is where this happens.
That's the orgy dome. Wow.
Yeah. That's the orgy dome. And get in there. Here's some lube. Go, boy. And so it's the excitement, it's like getting to bring someone to your town for the first time. You forget how cool it is. People come to the Mystic Manor. Oh my gosh, this place is so magical. I'm like, oh yeah, it is. You're right. So if it's just me and I can't share it with someone, is it going to be as exciting? Probably not.
No.
But it's still exciting,
I love that analogy or metaphor, or whatever the correct term to describe that is. I go through that with my place. We have a balcony with an amazing view of downtown Los Angeles, all the palm trees, everything. But yeah, we've acclimated to it. So now when a delivery person comes over and is like, oh, wow. Then we're like, oh yeah, oh wow.
Oh yeah, oh wow. Yeah. I used to, I had a place.
Your room. Yeah, stuff that's hanging on in your room, a book that's on the shelf. Yeah, it has no value when it's just part of the show that is your life's set. And then when a guest star comes in, then it becomes
exposure breeds indifference.
What's the opposite of that? Do we have a term for it? Lack of exposure breeds mystique?
Novelty breeds intrigue.
Ooh, I got to say it as Terrence now. Novelty breeds intrigue. That's what this episode's about. And also, we might talk about Brandon's history in the band Kundalini, opening for Hoopstank, Incubus, and even a band that you might know as Linkin Park, but is actually called Hybrid Theory at the time. So yeah, I was thinking about how we were brought up.
You're amazing. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm 46.
You were okay, yeah. So but we were brought up in kind of the same musical era. I think on one episode you're like listening to bands you were into at the time. You're like, oh, I was really into 311 and BC Boys and Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, he's like a 90s alt rock guy like I was growing up. The reason we picked up the instrument, and then I forget, are you a guitar player or
a vocalist?
Vocalist. Oh, you were the lead singer of
MC. There's two. So me and my best friend, he's a singer and I was the MC. So I was.
Oh, you're S.A. Martinez. He's Nick Hexum.
Yes, you got it. That's it. Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, I know we're promoting the book right now, but can people still go listen to those tracks?
You know, I did. I put them up maybe a couple years ago, because we broke up just before MySpace launched. So, you know, talk about like missing the whole opportunity to really get the music out there in a way, you know, outside of the traditional music industry.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. Like a year later. Yeah, it's called Kundalini. I think SoundCloud has it. Yeah. If you go to Kundalini/Kundalini-band, you'll find Kundalini.
I like
really
one
cool
track
logo. You checked it out.
Well, you played it at the beginning of A Positive Head. I think this was before the "I love you so much" era. How many is that? I love you. So. It's four so-sos and then much. Gotcha.
So much.
But before that, you were playing something where I could tell it was you doing the vocals. Like I don't know why. You know,
that was Try B. That was Try B. That was after Kundalini. I did an album. My initials are BBB. Mm-hmm. Try B, get it?
B's.
Which is kind of ironic because you can't really try to be, right? It's like an oxymoron. So maybe it should have been Tribe, but anyway, I digress. So Try B, I also put up, which is just me and the guitar player made an album after Kundalini, probably 2009, I think, something like that.
Good year.
Yeah,
First Obama year. Things are feeling a little fresh.
That's right.
We're not totally immersed in social media yet, but we do have internet. It's kind of cutesy. Yep. We like sharing cat photos. We don't even have memes yet. It's all just cat photos. Look at this photo.
What a trip. Pre-meme world. What a concept.
Yeah. Oh, so I mean, we're kind of like, I don't want to keep you too long. There's two things we do on this podcast every episode. The first one is we do 10 seconds of silence. And it's placed at a random part of the episode wherever I feel it coming. And we just kind of sit silently for 10 seconds and it feels good. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. And we're back. An honor, a privilege to silence with the great Brandon Beecham. And also, we do the opposite of 10 seconds of silence every episode. This segment was introduced by the ungoogleable Michelangelo way back when. And the opposite of silence is glossolalia, which Terence McKenna referred to as pure linguistic intent. Words with no inherent meaning, but you know what I mean when you hear it. So I'll do a little bit of glossolalia, and then you'll do some, and it'll be fun. So here we go.
Wow, you're good at it too. That's a tough act to follow. Okay.
Oh, excellent. That sounded almost.
Did I do long enough though?
Oh no! See, there's no time restraint with the glossolalia. With the silence, we do 10 seconds. Glossolalia, some people have done 30 seconds. Some people have done 2 seconds. Some people do 0 because they feel so strongly about it. And I'm not making fun of them. I genuinely believe that this is the case. But my friend Jessa Reed, when I first asked her to do it, the first time she came on, she couldn't. 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 She could bring herself to do it because she does like, speaks light language when her alien guides transfer through her. And she felt like if she were to open it up, she wouldn't be able to close the lid on that thing. So I respected that. I'm like, okay, we'll be the first one that doesn't participate. But it's fun getting people who are normally very serious to do that. It kind of breaks the open in
Dude, that's so creative and fun. You're epic.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Ungoogleable. Thanks, Terrence. And yeah, thanks me. I'll give some credit to it. I wanted to also ask you about your experience navigating, for lack of a better word, the brand of positivity. Because I feel like I run into it as well. Like, we're not merely a brand of positivity, but we can't help but also be a brand. Like, we have to exist within this internet thing. You choose to share some things, you choose to not share other things. And recently, like the term toxic positivity comes up a lot. Like, a lot of things are accused of like, that's toxic positivity. That's toxic. So do you run into that a lot? And how is that? Because when you have the brand of positive head, you cannot tell some random troublemaker on your group to go fuck off, because that doesn't fit within the brand guidelines. So you have to.
Well, if you say "fuck off kindly, sir," then you're okay. Yeah, I've talked about this recently. This toxic positivity thing. I think we call that negativity. It's really interesting. I love how, of course, I named my show Positive Head. Well, there's a story behind how I landed on that, but not really realizing. Oh, okay, if you search positive, my show comes up, typically right there at the top. And so a lot of people find the show through that. So then you get into the era of positivity is not cool, and which is really funny for me. But how I view it is like this whole idea of what's toxic positivity is like, trying to gloss over anything, trying to put lipstick on a pig, like just understanding, where I think you can always be positive is you can be positive about things that are negative, like understanding like, yes, this hurts, this sucks, this isn't easy. And I understand it's happening for me, not to me. It doesn't mean I'm not going to cry. It doesn't mean I'm not going to hurt. It doesn't mean any of those things. But by taking the lens of, understanding that it's all happening for you, not to you, that serves me so well. So you're not always going to be happy. A lot of times positivity you kind of equate with happiness. That's not what you came here to do. You came here to experience all the range of emotions. What you can do, as Eckhart Tolle, I believe is the one I first heard talk about this, is be at peace with what is. So that's what I'm talking about when I say be positive about the shit that you're going through. Like, have the lens of, this isn't easy and I'm here for it. I'm showing up for it. Like my magician friend Chad said the other day, girl was talking to him about all of the horrible things happening in her life. And he said, yes, that's what you came here for, And it's like that's the root of true positivity, not some inauthentic bullshit.
Oh yeah. And of course there's varying degrees at which you can use that line. Like, of course, like if it's a giant tragedy, if their kid died or something, you can't be like, that's what you came here for.
It might not be the appropriate time to even though there's some truth in the statement, that's what you came here for.
Yeah.
Probably not the appropriate time to to poke that bear, right? Like, I don't believe there's ever been a victim in all of eternity. That's a pretty controversial idea. There's a time and a place not to talk about that, right?
Yeah, you don't say that on like June 8th or whenever the George Floyd murder was.
Yeah,
like,
right,
there's no victims.
Yep, right. And yet, if you could see the soul contract between those souls, I'd be willing to bet, 18 cents in a bag of Skittles that, there's an agreement there that is made that has a story arc that is beyond, you're seeing this much of the story. And the why, and when you start to play with the idea of we're eternal beings, infinitely iterating, it's like, to us, it means everything. To the souls that are experiencing this apparent tragedy or hardship, it could be on the other side, like, yes, I I went through that. I had that experience, and now my soul is stronger and richer for it. Some balancing has taken place that you weren't able to see on that day. That's it's a bigger. The story is bigger than this lifetime, and so and at the end of the day, it's all a game that God's sort of playing, and it's like you're actually an eternal being that can never be harmed. You can only pretend to be.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, that's a relief, isn't it?
Speaking of, this lifetime, do you have a model of afterlife that you not cling to? That's the wrong word, but have more inclined to believe. Like, do you think that you see your soul family? Do you think that you're on to the next incarnation immediately? What do you think of this incarnation dying?
Yes. I think all the things probably, are you familiar with Journey of Souls or Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton?
No, maybe you've referenced it before, but I haven't read it.
I highly recommend it. He's a guy, he's, doctor doing hypnotherapy stuff. And all of a sudden his the classic, my client slipping into some past lifetime. Okay, let's explore this. And he's very scientific in the way he analyzes things. So he spent 30 years or whatever, just regressing people. And then like, oh, okay, great. You were, and Native American in, the year 1500. Great. You died. Okay. This way, that way. Okay. Now what? Oh, okay. You're going through this. Oh, you're at like a subway station kind of thing. Oh, now you're going back to your soul family. Okay. What does that mean? How does it work? What are these colors? What are the, and it basically is a structure of what the whole other side supposedly is like. What I find fascinating is when you take accounts like Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, all these cases over decades that, and all the correlation between these people, painting a picture of how the other side is structured. And then you take someone like, that I had on, in the early days of Positive Head, Dr. Eben Alexander, who, Harvard neurosurgeon, and wasn't into any of this woo-woo stuff, gets meningitis. One day he's fine. The next day, the Harvard brain specialist, brain is, a pile of goo, eaten alive by this virus. He's in, coma for a week. After a week, they say, sorry, fam, he's not coming back. Neocortex, the part that would provide hallucinations, eaten alive. His brain is fried. Pull the plug. He miraculously comes back. When he miraculously comes back, he tells all he remembers at first is his journey on the other side and what he was shown and how it was structured. And, because of who he was, he became, Oprah had him on and he became, best-selling book, et cetera. But same thing. He kind of lays it out similarly. Like, for example, he talks about the villain is often your greatest friend on the other side. So I take the villain in my story. If you read The Golden Key or listen to The Golden Key, you'll hear me talk about the villain whose baby mama has July 28th and grandma July 28th. The day I hit print on the book, the guy contacts me after 5 years, a horrible breakup, business breakup, saying, hey, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I've been on a spiritual path the last 2 years. You keep coming to me in meditation. I just had this powerful experience, something about us writing a book together. I don't really write, but I just had to reach out. And I'm like, well, I just printed the book minutes ago, where you're the villain in it. So we co-wrote. And now that was months back, right? And now all of a sudden he's back in my life in just this incredible new version of my friend, that is so supportive and, he just, doing all this cool stuff. Together.
That's such a weight off your shoulder, I bet, because even if you weren't actively thinking about it, I think having bad blood or whatever between people just kind of
it's like a brother. It's a brother, a lost brother, that really betrayed and hurt, the story from my perspective, betrayal. But from the ultimate story, it was the opportunity for me to experience forgiveness. And, I write in detail about it. And it truly, my favorite book is called The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. It's a children's book. And I think it lays out the story of what's going on here in the most beautiful childlike way.
Little Soul in the Sun.
Little Soul in the Sun. Every kid from 9 to 99 should check this out. And So it's what's interesting I got into my embedded clauses there, but what's interesting is there is, so much correlation with some of these ideas. Dr. Eben Alexander's idea of how it's structured really lines up with Dr. Newton and Journey of Souls, which really lines up to a lot of these near-death experiences, or people, using DMT or whatever the path is, ayahuasca, whatever gets them there. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, you take all those ideas and kind of mash them up. And I think that's the closest we can get to understanding what that structure is like on the other side.
Yeah, I think there's no way to really map it out fully, because once you start talking about that, you're getting into the physical again. And that's the thing with the non-physical, is it doesn't have a permanent fixed
just
form.
The idea of no time alone. It's like, how do I come to terms with the idea that we're floating in eternity in this moment, and my 5th birthday party is happening on another channel right now, and I'm just not tuned into it, And so, or like your DMT experience, where it's like all the different timelines, right? So it's kind of like Neo in one of the Matrix movies. He comes into the room with the architect, and all the versions are up on the screens. Which one are you going to choose this time? Is the interesting question. They're all possibilities. And, first psychic reading I ever had after those early days, I got a reading, and the woman's like, "Oh, I see you in a cold place like Chicago in business." My jaw hit the floor, because this was in Atlanta, Georgia. I was planning to go to Chicago and work with my uncle in business. But there's this whole other path in music in California. A year later, with the help of some psilocybin, I decided, I'm God, I can be anything. I want to be in a band, And so I moved, then I met someone from California, and here we are 20 plus years later. So it's, so I like to say, my way of looking at it is our lives play out at the corner of free will and destiny. It's destined because it's all already happened. My 5th birthday party, your 5th birthday party, happening on another channel. We're not tuned into that. Future, tomorrow is happening on another channel. We're not tuned into that. So it's all happening in the eternal now. Where free will comes in, I believe, is because Source, God, the universe, higher self, whatever you want to call it, it is infinitely abundant, and therefore it plays out every possibility to experience all vantage points. So I believe what was that psychic seeing, intuitive perceiving when I was sitting in front of her all those years ago? Based off where I was resonating vibrationally in that moment, she could see in my field the Chicago path. She could also see the version of Brandon that goes to California and forms a band. So she's like, I see these two. I don't know which one. And, the truth is, they all played out. The question always becomes, from this moment forward, which version are you going to choose? You want to experience the greatest and grandest version from this moment forward. And if you think of Source having, all these variations, the one that's the greatest and grandest, the most rewarding, however unlikely, Source has been there, done that, and gotten the t-shirt. So, because time is an illusion. So this is how you start first understanding it's a possibility. It's like, I always tell the story of course I make it. Of course I have this epic unfolding ahead of me. There's no one else here. I'm the only one in the room. I'm in my own private movie, and everyone's a prop in my movie. I'm a node of Source experiencing through this lens, and it's kind of like the short story, The Egg. I don't know if you've read or seen, they did a video.
I love
on
The
YouTube.
Egg by Andy Weir.
Yeah, it's so
Are you
good.
kidding me? Yeah.
It's so good. So it's just like that. Another thing I recommend you guys to check out on YouTube, there's a great rendition of it, about 10 minutes you can watch it. But it's like, it's all happening. What version of it are you going to step into? And that's where your free will comes in. So it's destined because it's all already happened. It's free will because you get to choose, and you navigate to that timeline. You be it to see it, right? Instead of, most people are doing something like work in order to have something like money, in order to be something like happy. You be something like happy, and you find yourself doing and having things that reflect that. And so you get good at navigating timelines with your vibration.
Yeah, and it's all happening, and you are just the radio transmitter that can choose what station to pick up on. But that analogy isn't perfect, because then you might miss a song if you're too late, whereas you won't ever miss the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, it gets pretty heady, right? I mean, and we're just doing our best to grasp with how do we bring infinite concepts down into this little, humble little brain and body and perspective to the best of our ability. And, there's plenty of room for more pieces of the puzzle to be unfolded and demonstrated and revealed in divine timing.
Hell yeah. I was worried we were like just at the end pieces, or not the end pieces, the boring pieces.
You can rest
puzzle.
easy. You can rest easy because we're still, I don't think we've really started yet. And from another perspective, we have. And and we're at the beginning, the middle, and the end simultaneously. And now my brain hurts.
Well, we're nearing a close here. I wanted to ask you, on the very first positive head, or one of the very first ones, you were saying that mankind is at a critical juncture right now, like where we have to wake up to the truth that we are all one consciousness manifesting in different forms, and that, when I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. When I'm kind to you, I'm being kind to myself. All that. What is the critical junction? Is it like, because it's weird that there's the internet, we're all communicating faster than ever, but also we're afraid that, climate change, like the world's going to end, some like catastrophic thing, or some extremely beautiful thing is going to happen. Like, we don't know which end it's going to tip over to.
All of them.
It's going to happen to all of them.
Which one are you going to step into is the question.
Not the climate destruction one.
I'm going to opt out of that one as well. Thank you. Thanks for the offer. And so Bashar talks about this. Speaking of channels who are amazing.
Bashar, the guy that
extraterrestrial
rotates?
channel.
Is he the one that rotates a lot?
I don't think he rotates. He's the good day. How are you doing today, my friends? He kind of talks like that.
Is he the bald guy? I mean, there's lots of bald people.
That's him.
That's him. Yeah. I got really into channelers for a bit, so I was watching.
He's a good one.
I was watching like even people with like 200 views. Like, I was going in for really deep underground
deep channel. So Bashar talks a lot about that sort of thing, like how isn't it empowering conceptually that, okay, this world, and it seems so out of control and it's all out there, and this idea of there is no out there, and you actually all the power to navigate what version of a timeline is within you. So think of it like anyone you're bumping up against, it's like ships passing in the night. Let's say you and I right now, we're having this conversation. You say, no, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. It's going to be awful. Everything's coming to an end. And I'm here like, oh no, we're entering the age of Aquarius, the Enlightenment age. This is just birthing pains. The caterpillar is becoming the butterfly. And I really believe in feeling vibrationally what I'm talking about. You're really feeling vibrationally what you're talking about. The idea that then you go on to step into that reality. I go on to step into the one. You're literally, as Bashar talks about, shifting timelines thousands of times, a second, or I forget how, it's just as frequent. Like you're stepping in and out seamlessly. You don't even know it. And then the idea that you get to that apocalyptic timeline, right? And I get to the utopian timeline, and yet there's another version of each of us there. There's the version of Brandon there who, took the more dark perspective. So I'm still there, but it's not the same one you crossed today. And so it's like, whoa, like that idea.
We both get to say we were right. That's funny. Yeah. Like I'm telling, see, I told you so. Both of us. And then meanwhile, it's all just going on from our own perspective, because you can never have a perspective other than your own, because that's what you is. I mean, that doesn't mean don't have empathy or anything, but the listeners get it. They've heard me. They've heard you. They know. I wanted to ask you, so bringing it back to the book, we started with the book, we tangented off, and then we came back to the book right now. Why should people pick the Golden Key as opposed to like a bunch of other books in the shelf next to it?
Because they're cheap and it's free. No. Actually, the hard copy you got to pay for, but audio or ebook you can get free. And so why should they? Well, here's why. Out of the infinite amount of things that are vying vibrationally for your attention right now, as you hear these words, whenever you're hearing these words, there is infinite things vying for your attention. the reason you're hearing my voice, both of our voices right now, is that we're such a close vibrational match that you've called it in. So it's kind of like this tree behind me, this Celtic tree of life, tapestry behind me on the wall. The way I think of it is that tree is infinite. It's stretching. Source is infinite, stretching in all directions. I mean, beyond scope of like this infinite tree that never ends. And yet there is a branch. And yet on a branch, there is two leaves flapping in the wind of eternity right next to each other. You could say that those two leaves are more closely related than maybe or the same way you could, one on the other side. The same way you could say maybe your fingers are more closely related to each other than they are to your toes. And so if you are calling something into your world vibrationally, it's because it's such a close vibrational match that you're seeing it pop up in your field, out of so many things vying for your precious attention. And so, yeah, for better or for worse, you attracted this. So I would say, and if you've been intrigued by what you've heard or felt between our conversation, then like I said, for me, I feel so good about the Golden Key because it's like, okay, 25 years of me rambling incessantly about this stuff, and distilled and concise and just like potent. And 3 hours, 3 hours and 11 minutes synchronicity. My first synchronicities you mentioned, 311 was the biggest influence on my band back in the day. And then it came up a bunch right before I finished the book. And then the book landed on 311. It was like a few seconds off, and I had my friend add a few seconds. So it would be exactly. And and then I uploaded it to like, when we uploaded it a couple places, they shaved 5 seconds. I'm like, damn it. No. Now it says 3:10:55. I'm like, don't do that. No. But that was my first ever synchronicity I ever saw, was the number 311 back, 25 years ago or whatever.
I still don't even know what it means. I think there's
like
different
a code
stories.
It's a code for
public nudity.
Indecent exposure.
There we go.
That's what, yep.
Yeah, that can fall under all kinds of categories. But yes. So yes, listeners, you exist. I don't exist. Brandon doesn't exist. This is all just a reflection for you to have found yourself towards the Golden Key so that you can unlock your day. Because maybe you were just going to have an okay to bad day today, but now with just 3 hours of your time, or maybe less, depending on how fast you can read, you can be on a whole different path to this being like the day that after which nothing was ever the same.
Bum, bum, bum.
Well, let's see. I think we're over an hour 20 right now, aren't we? Where's the timer?
Doesn't matter. Like we're about an hour 12.
Oh, hour 12? Okay, so I've got you for a little bit more. That's weird. Now I was like bringing the energy towards a close, and now I'm here just doing encores.
You can keep me or you can boot me, whatever feels right.
I'll make a deep fake of your voice and just make you say what I want for the last 8 minutes of it. I wanted to thank you for introducing me to, you introduced me to Christopher David Jackson, who I want to have on the show. I don't know if have you talked to him recently? Are you guys still in touch?
I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to him recently. Him and I, it's interesting because he's like another very brotherly energy in my life. He's the one that told me about the Lion of Judah week and he's July 30th. So, and him and I just, we had a little bit of a disagreement, and we haven't talked in a minute since
bummer.
I disagreed.
Well, maybe this will change it, or maybe I'll have to edit this out. No, I probably don't have to edit this out because you didn't say anything.
He used to come on my show all the time. I mean, we were, we're close friends. I'm sure it will ultimately be rectified, but yeah.
I like his raps.
He's a little mad at me.
Oh, okay. Been there. Not mad at you, but have people mad at you for whatever reason.
Oh, the day's young. I mean, we still got 8 minutes, 7 minutes. I might be able to piss you off in that time. I've done it quicker.
I'd like to see you try. There's but I like his. I can never repeat the things he would say, but he would have like great raps about the fear is also love, and the internal architecture of your something. And then when I try to recreate
he's brilliant.
It doesn't work. But yeah, you two together was a good chemistry back in the 2017 Positive Head era.
Yep. Yeah. He's also, he's really an incredible guy.
And okay, forget about him. Also, Alexa Hauser, who hosts. She's become a good friend also. She
Oh,
was
really?
A couple
Cool.
of episodes ago, with Ambrosia Matthews also.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love
the
them.
Inner
I love
Bloom,
them.
the Inner Bloom gang.
The Inner Bloom
And
posse.
yeah, but it's just fun that there's people like kind of that you know in your life and you forget where they came from, and then you're like, oh yeah, like I wouldn't know that person if it wasn't for this person doing that thing, and it branches out, and perhaps we're not even done doing that yet. There's like thousands of people I haven't met yet that are important.
Well, it's weird to me that we're just meeting, honestly, knowing that you're here. And it's one of those, I do a lot of this stuff, obviously, but it's not always where you're like, this person's awesome. So I've had that feeling for you, and I'm super
awesome.
excited.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And
it's all you can hope
like,
to be in this life.
And it's all you can hope to be, man. Just be as awesome as you possibly can be. Flawsome. And yeah. So
why do people get mad at you? Is there a consistent through line? Like,
no, it's interesting. No, it's funny because those are the two biggest, the first one I talked about was way more dramatic. Chris Jackson, that's like, whatever. That's like, some disagreement stuff that, seeing things differently, and not a big deal. I just haven't talked to him,
you said storm the Capitol. He said, let's not storm the Capitol. And you're like, come on, let's storm that bitch.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So he didn't want to storm the Capitol with me, and I have no tolerance for that. So yeah, no, really, honestly, I don't have a lot of conflict in my life. The biggest conflict I had has just been rectified in the most beautiful way, and, I've got my best friend back essentially. So yeah, but interesting as I think about it, there's a few people that it's always the ones who are like brotherly energies, like, that I've ever had, the villains are usually your greatest friends. Those who challenge you the most are, inviting you into, the deep end of the growth pool. And, sometimes that is a little, a little hairy, I guess.
Yeah. You need that friction to grow. Yep. Otherwise, sitting alone in a vacuum, there's no anything. Right. You just kind of are static. I bring that up because I don't have conflict in my life either, but when people do get irritated with me, it's because of my flakiness or lack of communication, or like I didn't write back to this person, or you
don't show up for a podcast.
Yeah, I do the no call, no show, just completely nothing. And then afterwards, but maybe one day I'll get do you have lots of people working for you, like an assistant and a scheduler? Like, do you have a team? How many people consist of your team?
One just started their career that I'm so sad about because
you mean they're not you career?
Yeah, right.
Oh, so they're left to go.
Yeah.
Be a DJ or something.
3 maybe. Yeah, 3. I
guess, that's a good size.
2,
I'm
2, 3.
My friend Shane, I don't know if you know Shane at all. He's also he was in my Tales from the Trip, actually. I referenced him.
I had him on the podcast years ago.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, so he's very good about that, like having an assistant and having a scheduler, and like he's more free with money to like, I'll just pay this person to handle that, and I don't have to. And I have the opposite, where I have to do everything myself to the point where it just falls apart, where I'm my own scheduler, my own doer, this thing, my own mixer. And now
I've struggled with that at times.
Yeah. Was there a point where you switched and you're like, I can't handle this all myself?
I'm still, so I went in 2010, 11, I started a company that went from me to, on my friend's couch, I can manifest anything, to actually manifesting an Inc. fastest growing private company in 2015, 100 plus employees. And then part of the journey with that friend I was talking about was the betrayal happened around that. And then, lost everything and had to start from scratch and not having much again and having to do everything. And I'm still somewhere in between where it's like, I don't have as much help as I'd like to. I'm not as optimized as I could be. So I can relate to both ends. I've been, I've experienced the full gamut, looking out over the ocean in the big mansion in Laguna Beach to scraping for money for tacos to, I've had it all. I've seen and kind of done it all. So at this time, it would be good to have more help than I do, but I'm thankful for the help that I have,
Yeah. And I mean, we'll have to get into this in another podcast. It's too much to go into, but I also like your, I like that you're good at business and that you weren't always good at business. You went through many years of having very little money and living on couches to like having a travel business, to having a realist or a timeshare like style of
managed timeshares.
Managed timeshare business. See, I wouldn't even think to know how to begin to do any of those
synchronicity. The universe just left breadcrumbs that led me right to it. I didn't know anything about it, but it's part of what I talk about in the book. Once you start aligning with understanding your worth, like I was on my friend's couch, but that didn't define me. Right? I was in my 30s, like from all societal standards could be viewed as a failure. I didn't believe that. It's like, it's the Chinese proverb, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. It isn't over if I haven't won. And I know who and what I am intrinsically. And every failure is only making it that much sweeter. The greater one toils for their freedom, the greater the sense of freedom that's attained. So that's the story that I tell. And of course, we speak as we create, as we speak, we create it.
Abracadabra.
Yeah. And so I was telling the story. I am worthy. I'm going to attract more abundance. I'm going, and then it's like I didn't know anything about the travel business. The universe just said, oh, here's a path. Here's a way we can my higher self, I believe, says, oh, here's how I can connect the dots. Oh, you're a vibrational match. It's in vibrational escrow. As Abraham would say, the moment you wish for it, it's in this, the eternal now of no time, it's instantly there, waiting for you to become a vibrational match for it to come through. So the version of you where you have all the assistance you need is just waiting for you. You desire it. It's already there, waiting for you to really shift the story around that narrative, which of course is that's the work, right? Easier said than done, but that's the work.
Yeah, alignment.
I look forward to I can see it years from now. You're going to have this epic dialed team. And I'm like, look at that. Look at the escrow.
I always talk about wanting to grow to the point where I've lost touch. Like I want to grow to where people are like, his new shit sucks. He ever since he made all that money and doesn't have to wonder where money comes from. His work has suffered a lot. I want to grow too big to not be liked and then have a redemption arc. I think that would be fun.
That's a great
but no
story
scandals,
to tell.
No sexual harassment sort of stuff. I'm not down with that. But
hey, that's an interesting and popular story in narrative. It's like my old friend, he told the same story. I want to go bankrupt a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And, that he went from, I had my betrayal experience. He lost everything after that, gained 100 pounds, was suicidal. He's like, if I wasn't such a wuss, I would have probably killed myself. Then, it takes a job just to get by, but has always told the story of how rich he would be and now he's making $500,000 a month or something stupid and is in perfect shape. 2 years from, the electricity getting cut off. So It's like, this is all funny money. It's all funny money. It's all energy. It's all, once you start, we look at it as so solid and it's really just these vibrational fluctuations of energy. And you stop, it seems so solid because you're telling the story with all of your creative power that it is. And so it is, but really, it can shift so dramatically, so quickly.
Yeah. So if you're listening right now and you're $100,000 in debt, it's possible that tomorrow you make $100,000 or even $102,000. So then you got an extra $2 or extra $2K. It's never what you think it is in terms of the depth of the problem.
Exactly. And it's like, once you start realizing that, it's powerful to take yourself out of that loop, that story. And it's, we're trained, they're habitual thoughts. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this sort of stuff, breaking the habit of being yourself. And, it's powerful path to explore. Yeah.
You don't have to kill yourself. You can kill that version of yourself.
Yes, exactly.
That's a kind of morbid way of looking at it. I'm paraphrasing Michael Garfield here, who said that he was just so sick of his life or something. This was way back when, and he decided that, oh, I don't have to leave this life. I can just leave this version of who I think I am.
Yep, that's a great way to actually
leave that.
Look at it.
So yeah, now we're at the end of the episode, and
now
so
you went over
again,
and so I now am you did actually make me now pissed at you, which now we can be enemies.
I'm in the brother club. I gotta change my birthday to July 28th or something.
You're so close too.
Yeah,
You're
the 6 can be turned into an 8 with the right pen mark on it or something.
Good point.
Yeah, so everybody check out the link in the description, pick up the golden key, read it, make your life better. Check out Positive Head Podcast too. It's one of my favorites. I always refer to Positive Head Podcast when I'm describing my range of stuff that I listen to, where I'll go as obscene and negative as like Come Town, and then I'll go as positive as Positive Head. So like I oscillate between the most immature
Come Town
shit.
and Positive Head aren't so far removed, right? I mean, you can have negative head, but it's kind of like pizza. Usually it's always pretty good.
Yeah. So anything else you'd like to say to the listeners before we leave this particular conversation we'll have? Hopefully we'll have more in the future. Would love to have you back anytime.
And I want to have you on Positive Head as well. You're awesome, as I said.
That'd be a dream come true. I've done P Head Posse, but I've never done that's like Carson, like doing a set but not getting called to the couch. Being in the main one talking to you, that's like getting called to the couch.
We're doing it, and I won't tell you what happens on the couch. It may, be a little different than Come Town, hopefully. But let's see. The thing that I like to leave off with lately is this: we live in such a world of comparison, right? Like Instagram age of like, oh, I can never do what these guys are doing on the podcast. I can never look at her body on Instagram. Look at her, how pretty she is. Look at whatever the story is where you're comparing. This is one of the biggest challenging things you can do as far as the story. The only thing I'm good at is telling good stories about myself. And therefore it's like, if we are the creator and created rolled into one, then, that story is everything. So I tell the story, since it is all one. If it's in my field at all, it's because it's such a close vibrational match that I'm calling it in, and I'm rubbing elbows with it. So the next time you see something that you admire, don't create that separation between you and it. Actually create the connection between you and it. Like, wow, I'm getting closer. Look how close it is. Look how close it is. And so that has really served me well. And then also this idea of like, and it goes hand in hand with that is this idea of not being that, worthy, imposter syndrome and all that. It's like, you are 14 billion or so years of evolution of the physical universe. You are the evolutionary tip of the spear. 2,000 grandparents in the last few hundred years, right? That the sacrifice, the pain, the all the decisions that had to be made for you to be here right now listening to this. You are perfectly imperfect. You are the evolutionary tip of the spear. You are, everything has went leading up to you. And you're going to sit there and tell a story of how small you are by comparing yourself to someone else or whatever, when really all that is you calling it in, and that's why it's there. So you are as worthy as any other being ever has been, could be, or will be. Get with it and stop telling any story to the contrary, because it's simply not true. Unless you say it is, because there is no truth, only your truth, because you are creating it.
Right on. That is the best ending we could ever have. And I'm going to try to tell that to myself too, because it's easy to agree. Then I'm going to go off and not even do that myself. But no, it's true. The only skill you have is the story you're crafting, and the people you're jealous of. That's a character you just casted into the story. You don't even know the character. You only know the projection which you're experiencing. So it's a whole other thing. Thank you so much for coming on the program. It was an absolute delight. And check out the book in the thing. And until next time, I forget what I even say till next time.
Journey
well, my friends.
Journey well, my friends. Also, before we sign off, I wanted to remind you to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can find the book and unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.